Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday, November 30th full board meeting. I'd like to call to order. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3, roll call. Please check yourself in. Okay, good. All right, thank you. Item number 4, invocation by Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If we could all bow our heads, please. God, grant us the wisdom to govern amid the conflicting issues and interests of our times. Grant us a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people. Grant us a keen thirst for justice and righteousness. Grant us confidence in what is good and what is fitting. And grant us the ability to work together in harmony, even when there is an honest disagreement. Thank you.
Great. Item number 5, adoption of the agenda. I have a few changes I'd like to make before we get a motion to adopt. I would like to remove item 11B, and I would like to move 11A to 9A and move 9A to 9B. Great. Supported by, moved by Commissioner Brown, supported by Commissioner Leonetti. Please vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
On 11B, is it your intention to bring that back?
Oh. If it's relevant, I believe there's going to be a vote on this tonight anyway, so. Right. If it's still relevant, yes, I will bring it back. At this point, I know no one's ready really to deal with this, to make some kind of formal move, and if we needed it by tonight, it wouldn't happen anyway. So we will bring it back if for some reason that vote does not take place by the end of the week, right, because we have meetings next week.
Okay, thank
And
you.
so, Mr. Chair, item 11 is completely gone then, A and B, since
Correct.
we moved it around. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Item 11A moved to 9A. Thank you. Item passes. Item number 6, approval of minutes dated November 9th, 2017. Need a motion to approve. Moved by Commissioner Carabelli, supported by Commissioner Romano. Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 7, public participation. Any members of the public wishing to speak? You have 5 minutes. Please come to the podium. These are related only to items on the agenda in the first public participation. Mr. Hunt?
Good afternoon, members of the Board of Commissioners. Joseph Hunt, 8306 Stanley, homeowner and taxpayer from the City of Warren. I looked last night on online for the agenda that the board staff places up, and I see that there's a new resolution here, this R17-1001, that has been moved to, I guess, 9A. Within the allocation of the funds authorizing the retention of legal counsel, I guess my question here, in quickly breezing over the resolution and all of its contingencies, is that I see that under 2C it says the total cost and fees and costs for such representation shall not exceed $50,000 unless otherwise approved by the Commission by resolution. This is going back to what I was mentioning during budget season regarding where all of the legal fees come from within the general fund budget. Because this indicates that it shall not exceed $50,000, the real question does come down to under what line item and what budget center will the $50,000 be coming from? Because as you know, back in March, when you had allocated $100,000 here, $100,000 there was actually a request that had come in on the official form through the official board sync process that clearly indicated that it would be coming out of the liability fund, which is a budgeted budget center line item. But here, I'm not really seeing, and like I say, I'm breezing through. I see a lot of contingencies as far as the process and everything like that. But the real question to the Board of Commissioners, you know, the fiduciary of the taxpayers and the keeper of the funds, is that if you're going to allocate and vote for up to $50,000 in independent legal fees, where would that be coming from? I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Third and final time. Any other members? Seeing none, we will move on to item number 8, correspondence from the Office of County Executive. We have no correspondence. We'll close item 8 and move to the new item 9A, which is a resolution authorizing retention of independent legal counsel to represent Clerk Karen Spranger in the November 2017 lawsuit. Need a motion to adopt, and then we can discuss this.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Toko, supported by Commissioner Brown. Any comments on this? Crystal, get me up on this, will you? Great. I don't have any speakers on this. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Carabelli.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, would it be appropriate to ask about the previous resolution that we have passed at this time, as far as where we're at with that, how much we have spent, progress of that?
As far as the other independent counsel, we did get a little information on that, but not much yet. As far as the questions that were asked yesterday about any breakdown in communication between the clerk and the independent counsel hired for, or the budget amount, that we have been reported no reported problems in that issue yet, or in the lawsuit. We don't have a number on the amount that's been spent yet. I don't
think Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, I don't think Mr. Anderson's here, or Mr. Peacock would be here. They would know the exact amount on that, so I don't think we have the right people to ask that question.
Oh, sorry.
Anything-
Also, just Schmiegu
Commissioner
could give us a
Kleinfeld?
written report is all. Thank you.
Yes, and we did ask for that today from Scott Anderson, or, and, yes. And we haven't received it yet, but he did note that there was no problems at this time. Okay. No, seeing no other speakers, please vote. Motion passes 12-0. Thank you. Moving on to item 9B. 9B is going to be a hearing for the clerk to respond to Resolution R-17-954. Ms. Spranger gave us a written report, and it was also requested that she come here and under oath give us a verbal report on any follow-up questions that we might have for her in this matter. Ms. Spranger, could you come up to the podium, please? Here we are. What happened?
You said the last vote passed 12-0. There are 13
Oh.
people here.
Yes. We'll get Mike. Excuse me for 1 minute, just having a little technical difficulty. Mike, Don's system's up. Where was the oath that you didn't? Ms. Spranger, thank you. Initially, I want to thank you for the obvious time and care you put into the document you submitted to the commission Tuesday afternoon. We know this is a busy time for you with everything going on, and we appreciate you getting that to us in a timely fashion. Before we get to any of the questions that the commissioners have, I just want to clarify some of the things that have been going on around the media and the attention drawn to MCL 46.11 subsection K. This is put in the statute to provide the commission needed information to address questions asked and concerns raised by individual commissioners, county officials, citizens, and businesses of the county. Its intent is to gather information and to ask follow-up questions to ensure commissioners fully understand the issues that we are asking about. For several months, the question had been asked behind closed doors and with the media, and this is our view that a public discussion on this is warranted. Some media accounts indicate that the executive has stated this procedure has never been used before and that it's overreaching and potentially abusive. So I just wanted to clarify some of those points. We don't know how many times that MCL 4611 has been used in the state. Unless it was actually litigated, we would have no idea how many times it's been used. However, it was used at least one time in Alcona County, and that case closed up, I believe, in 2011. In that case, the actual treasurer was removed from office based on this statute. He failed to report. It wasn't that the commission didn't like his answers. It was that he failed to follow the procedure requested of him, authorized by this statute. This board hasn't taken any action that indicates an attempt to remove or consider removal of any county official, and individual commissioners have indicated and responded to the media basically what the statute says. We've been asked questions. We were looking for information. One of the possibilities in the statute, and it's only a paragraph long, it's very easy to read, states that if the individual fails to respond, that removal is possible by 2/3 of the vote of the commission. That being said, Ms. Spranger responded. We don't have to like the answers. We don't have to believe the answers. They have to be representative of at least an answer to the question that was posed. You know, this statute's an important tool to hold county officials accountable through those who have been elected to represent the citizens. And the possible sanction removal for failing to report or provided bond makes it necessary for county officials to take any county commission directions for reporting seriously. So that's why that type of sanction is in there. And it's a possibility, and it's a vague possibility, but this means that when the commission has some questions, you have to come and answer, right? So that's really what this statute is all about. It allows us to get to the bottom of problems that we see going on in the county. And it may be a potential problem, it may be a real problem, but it gives us the right to ask these questions. So back to it, Clerk Spranger, all the commissioners have likely, I'm sure, thoroughly reviewed the documents you submitted on Tuesday. So our intent is not to hear a repetition of the answers that you've already given. We're not going to sit here and ask you every question on there. We have some follow-up questions, some clarifying questions. And I'm going to kind of just go through the procedure that we're going to use. I have a list of questions here. They're broken down sometimes into some subparts. I offer you the opportunity to give us your answers. We would appreciate your answers being as succinct as possible. I'm going to offer each commissioner, after the question is answered, an opportunity to ask any follow-up questions on that particular question topic that was posed. Then we're going to move to the next question. There's maybe 13 questions or so in here that we're going to ask. Some of them should be answered very easy by you. A lot of them may not have follow-up questions. At the end of this, I'm going to offer the opportunity for each commissioner, if a topic hasn't been touched that you have a particular question on that you would like an answer for, I will offer that time to the commissioners also to come in with questions off the list here. Now remember, please, commissioners, that we do have several lawsuits going on. These questions that you might ask really have to be directed towards the topics of the questions that we had asked originally in the report, so that we don't get into any legal disputes and we're not talking about things out of sorts that we shouldn't be talking about. So before we begin, I'd like to swear you in because this is also under oath, so if you would please raise your right hand.
Before I swear in, I have a statement to make.
Okay.
Okay.
That statement should be in your oath.
It's a thank you.
We're not
I
asking
think
any
a thank
questions
you
at this
is
point.
not
Thank you.
necessary under oath.
Go ahead.
I just want to thank the employees and Register of Deeds, my staff in the clerk's office, and everyone who participated in helping me research, do the fact-finding, and give an honest answer. I will tell you, I am not an encyclopedia or a computer that can just come up with an answer. Part of my experience in this office has been learning on the job and getting directions from good, honest individuals who's been in the county for many, many years. And they have the ability and skills to do their job. And some of them do it not only 100%, but 200%. And I really recognize their dedication, their professional skills, and the reason and the motive behind why they do their job so well. Because they love this county. They are proud to be a member of Macomb County. And that's why I wanted to say this statement. I especially sincerely thank my staff. They are wonderful people. They have a heart of gold. And I commend them for the dedication that they gave the county all these years. So thank you for letting me say this.
Thank you. Now, if you don't mind, raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the statements you make and information you provide today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you. So we're going to start with the questions. And some of them, they pull off of the questions that we've asked already, so they should be somewhat familiar to you, but some of them just need some more clarification. So question number one, what, if any, authority do you believe you have to spend any county funds to pay legal fees for outside legal counsel?
That is one of the questions. Could you tell me where the question was?
You know
On
what,
the
I'm not.
page.
There you go. Let's see, that's. How about if we get to this? One of the answers that you gave was that you would be able to transfer between line items in your budget to pay for outside legal fees. What line item, if any, in the Clerk and Register of Deed budgets can be expended to pay legal fees for outside counsel? Do you know that?
The response I remember was the experience I had the first time I asked to take it out a line item for special projects. It was just $15,000. And this experience I had before the Board of Commissioners, it was denied to use that line item. There is another process that goes through the process of the executive branch and the Board of Commissioners, writing a resolution and asking for the amount to be included in your budget. That was not successful for me this year. This is my first budget. I'm learning how to do things better and more efficiently.
Okay. I'm going to veer off for 1 second and give one more explanation on your retention of outside counsel in your requests. You've come to us a couple times for retention of outside counsel and asked the board specifically to approve it. There's two ways to get outside counsel for you. One is to come to the board specifically and ask, and the other one is to go through Corporation Counsel. And if they can't represent you, then they would then provide an outside counsel with the board's approval. The first time that you came to us, we told you how to do that. You have to tell us where you'll be getting the money, who you would be hiring, what their hourly rate is, and what the expected amount of their service is going to be. The first time you came to us, you didn't give us that. You asked for $15,000, and that was it. You didn't tell us what kind of rate you were getting for that $15,000 or what the estimated total was going to be. You just came with the number. So we denied it. The second time you came to us in that manner, you did the same thing. You asked for $100,000, and you didn't give us any of the other information that we require of someone coming in asking for that for us to approve independent counsel. The other way is when you go to the Corporation Counsel, and then they approve or deny, recommend or don't recommend you getting counsel. When they recommend it, you come to us and we approve it. And last time we approved it, and this time we approved it. So I do want to point out that we are not up here to deny you counsel. When we've denied it in the past, when you've come to us without the proper, not following the proper procedures, not only did you not follow the proper procedures, but our corporation counsel, recommended against you being afforded this counsel also. And there's different reasons for that. Depends on who the lawsuit is between and how it all works. But I just wanted to point out that there's been also a lot of false accusations out there that the board is just against giving you counsel. And this is the second time that we've afforded, based on the resolution we just passed, you to have counsel for your legal concerns. So back to the questions. There's a few really important things going on with the lien and the e-filing. And I just want to know, do you understand the consequences of failing to keep the lien, which is law enforcement information network filings, up to date? Do you understand that persons can be wrongfully arrested and jailed?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand that a person who should be arrested might avoid arrest and therefore commit other crimes because it was not properly placed into the lien system that the officers might have or that have with them? It's not in there. They don't know that there's even a warrant out for this person. Are you aware that that's a possibility out there of being so far behind on this lien program?
Yes.
Do you also understand that the law enforcement officers may stop and engage with the person without knowing of outstanding warrants, putting their own lives in jeopardy?
Yes.
And do you understand that the county can be sued and be liable for the consequences of these actions?
Yes.
So, my question is, you fail to tell us when they will be up to date in your answers. When will the lien filings be up to date? And I'm going to say this, I understand that up to date is a term of art. However, there are other communities around that we base our projections on. And we should be somewhere within the realm of those communities of getting these things logged and recorded. So you didn't give us a time on when this was going to be done. Can you give us a time on when this is going to be caught up to a point where it's not looked at as being out of sorts and out of line with what should be happening in the real world?
The time factor involved on cooperation from not only my department, but from the court area. Because I have a chief deputy supervisor, and there was a delicate matter that I prefer not to get into because of the lawsuit that I'm in, has a relevance to this issue. In the questions that I put already in St. Clair County on how I can have my deputies under the statutory rights of my Constitution position as an officer of this court. In that position alone, I should be able to have counter deputies, meaning not only 2 deputies, but counter deputies at will that could do a certain function that could help alleviate doing that function along with my staff.
Okay, well,
because under staff, we have only one person who did it. She retired. To replace her takes training, certification, which for 6 months during this process, the other person went through the training but didn't get certified. And that certification depended on a test. And I'm working with the people that could help administer it, and I'm even finding out that I could assist by giving that test.
Okay.
So
Clerk
I'm in
Spranger,
that
I'm going to ask you
process.
one more time. Do you have an idea of, in your mind, when the anticipated time is that these liens will be placed in the proper, will be recorded to catch us up to where we should be?
They're being worked on right now. I don't have enough staff to get to it or take 3 people. And I put that in my report that I want to train 3 people. It's always been a job of 1. It's always been behind, but it was never publicly noted. I am the new county clerk. I think transparency and accountability is the best medicine for good government. And I will stand strong on when there are issues in my offices.
Kathy, you want
I will be happy to explain why to the best of my ability and to be accountable. If I could do that work, I would be doing it. But I depend on staff that's qualified. And
Okay.
when they leave the office unexpectedly or they retire, there's a planning that you need to do. So this was not a planned.
Okay. I have a couple commissioners that have questions to this, and Commissioner Tokel?
Thank you. Madam Clerk, your answer to me is unclear as to exactly how many documents that you have that have not been placed into the lien system that should be placed into the lien system. If I add the only 2 numbers that you submitted together, that totals 4,456 documents. Is that the amount of documents that have not been placed into the lien system?
From what the staff has researched,
I'm
Okay.
asking you, ma'am, how many documents have not been put into lien?
I have not counted them myself.
You were asked to do that.
If I had to manually count that, then I would have done that. I thought the question to me, when asked, I go to the people that actually do the work, and I ask them where they're at on doing that
They are
task.
not the elected official. You are, and you were asked to answer these questions.
I am answering the question.
Are there 4,400 documents that have not been placed into the lien system?
That is what I found, yes.
That is the potential that there are 4,400 people who have not been reported to the police department for have committed crimes. There is the potential for 4,400 people whose driving privileges have not been suspended because of your failure to act. How do you explain that? How do you explain that you have not reached out for help from anybody?
I have.
Who have you asked?
I have asked outreach. I remember coming to the board saying I needed more people, but I didn't elaborate on their duties because when I found out that the supervisor who was managing this department has some of the abilities to get this task done.
Where is that supervisor?
Well,
You placed her on administrative leave, didn't you?
no, I did not.
Where is she?
She is upstairs on the 6th floor, from what I am told, working, I don't know. We have not communicated
Why
since the
don't you know
day-
where your staff is?
to the day she walked off her work for 3 days without notifying me. I did write a letter to HRLR, and this is a legal issue, so I don't want to get into the semantics of that argument.
Do you understand that you've put the public at risk?
I said yes.
And how long will it take you to get a staff certified?
I hope immediately.
What is the training period for certification?
They already took the class, and we're just waiting for the test.
And when is that going to happen?
I said immediately. As soon as I get the trainer to schedule it, and I'm working with the state police right now to get this done immediately.
So right now, are you telling us that you don't have anybody so that this backlog is going to continue until somebody is certified?
Right now, they brought the supervisors back, and I'm confident that she will step forward and start doing these tasks.
So you have one person responsible for 4,400 entries.
There would be 3 added to the 1 that retired that I asked to bring back temporarily as a temp. And I don't want to get into the semantics of a debate of why it was turned down, but it was denied.
That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable, and maybe you should explain to the board what the importance of lien is. What exactly is lien?
It is very important.
And what is it?
We just discussed the importance of a lien. People need to know when they get pulled over adequately what and where the charges are against them, whether they're dropped or whether they're still pending, whether they're on record, so sometimes they are taken off. Yes, it's a very critical, important task. It was not monitored when I first came in, and I'll monitor it because it is a very serious issue, especially when my supervisor left.
So that the board is aware, the lien system works through the courts. So when a person is convicted of a crime, that is supposed to go into the law enforcement network information system. It's a statewide process, a statewide database, that when a person is pulled over, their conviction should be registered. When a person goes to another court, their conviction should be contained in those documents. When there is a personal protection order, that gets entered into lien so that the police know when they go to a domestic dispute whether or not there's a personal protection order against that person. We have 4,400 documents that have not been placed into lien. We have a certification process. It's a very confidential process. Not everybody can do lien. It requires special training. It requires certification. There are permitted and unpermitted uses of lien. It's a very serious problem. Out of all of the problems that we have with you, this should be the problem that is the most important.
I only
Because the public now is at safety. It's not just your shenanigans that go on in here. Now you've put the public at risk.
I understand your point of view. We always had one person, from what I understand, doing that. There are a group of people that assist, but there's some things they cannot finish doing. So it takes one person that was doing that job, and she did retire.
Well, I would like some more information on exactly where you're at in the certification process and how many people you have in line for certification.
I would be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Carabelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Clerk. I didn't so much wanted to talk about lien other than it's on the table right now. So my understanding is that you have one person that's in training. Is that what you said? Could that be
3.
testing?
Three.
I recommended 3.
Okay. You have one person that is, though, testing. Is that what I understood?
We're in the process of getting a certified person to give the test. I found out that I could administer the test,
Okay.
so I want to do that.
Madam Clerk, is that one person or is that 3 people that have to take the test?
3 people can take the test.
Right now, what are you waiting for? One person to take the test?
They all went to the same class. You take a class first, and then you go through the test to get certified.
Okay.
And in the
wait, I want to make sure I
process-
understand. So you have 3 employees from the clerk's office that went and took classes.
Yes,
They completed their classes. They're waiting for you to schedule the testing. And then you'll have 3 people to take care of the backlog.
that's my goal, yes.
Okay. My next question is, how many people are doing it right now? The lien?
We had one person, but she retired, so
So-
we do have someone who took the class, and she's working on the liens that she can do, and they're working on it.
Okay.
To do the other part,
Listen, and I'm just really trying to understand, so
Okay.
please bear with me.
sure,
So technically, right now, there is no one certified in this county to input lien.
there is the supervisor who returned back to work,
So a supervisor
yes.
now that's working or retired?
No, she was brought back to work. The person that was doing it
Okay, so she's brought back
is
to work.
retired. I had a training session 6 months ago with the supervisor to train the person to fulfill the person that was retiring her job. It wasn't successfully completed during that 6 months training period with how it was running
Okay.
in the office, and I
So
didn't
right now, my
monitor
understanding
that.
is you have one person that's full-time doing this work, correct?
That is going to
Okay.
be,
And that just came back today, and how long was it not being done?
I didn't research that. I only could say I didn't know there was that backlog because the person who was there didn't
When did
say
that
the
person
number.
leave?
That's a big number.
When
It's
did that
not
person
just a
retire?
number that happens in 2 weeks.
When did that
It's
person
been-
retire?
I don't recall it right now.
Last month, 2 months ago, 3? I don't know.
I'm sorry, I just don't know the answer.
Fair enough. Okay. And there's only one, when you came out, there's only one person that knew how to do that job?
Yes.
Okay. How long is
Besides, I believe the supervisor.
So
They
two
both
people.
would,
How many people, I'm sorry, how long is this training that these 3 individuals went to?
I'm just recalling real quickly, they had it scheduled for last week, and they completed a day training.
So it's a
And
one-day
then
training process?
On that process, no. There's another process for the test. For
Okay.
the test. It's called the open book test.
Okay, so my understanding is that it's a one-day training process, training in the classroom.
In
And then
general,
after
yes.
that, somebody comes in and do an administer of the test.
That's usually the process, yes.
Okay. Being that there's this big of a backlog, is there any way you can get with HR to see if you can have additional people go to this class? So that, number one, we can actually input what needs to be done and then have these people working overtime to try to get us caught up?
That is excellent.
No,
Yes,
can you reach out to HR
yes,
and have them assist you in this process?
yes.
Okay. And can you also let us know what day you schedule this testing so we have an idea of when we're going to have these people working on this?
Okay. Okay. I'll do
I have
that.
more questions, but I guess I'll let you continue on if you want, or you want me to?
Let's go through the list. If they're not contained in there, then you can, we'll have time at the end. Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Oh, that's
I
okay.
missed this
No,
one here.
well, I yield to Commissioner Kleinfeld.
There you go.
You better. No, I'm just kidding. You had asked 2 questions, so I was going to ask a question on the first one, which was regard to the hiring of attorney through line items, if you don't mind, and then I'll quickly ask on the lien. The response that you gave with respect to hiring attorneys and using line items to do so, on page 3 of your response, you quote, you gave Section 9 fund transfers, countywide elected officials can transfer from one line item to another, 35,000 or 5%, whichever is less. And then on page 4, you said that one was per, I guess, the charter, and then this one was per FY 2017 ordinance, that you could transfer 100,000 or 10%, whichever is less. So the first question that's outstanding is whether or not you can do that, and I'll get to that in just a second. But if you are going to do that, is it your intent? Is it your belief that you are allowed to transfer $100,000 from one line item to another to put it into that line item for attorneys? Or is it 35? What is your belief?
That's a tough question because I would be practical about it. I would sit down with my attorney and look at the case and figure out a cost and figure out what he gets per hour.
Okay.
And you made it very clear. The chairperson gave a formula that I need to break down a cost. And I'm just saying at this question, it depends on those principles of cost. And if my budget is what it is, and there is no line item, as you go through the process, you look at how other departments did their line items and where they got their funds from. So you can go to the check registrar and follow some of the way we do our
Well, first of all, I have a series of questions, and I know everybody else does. So when it's a question that requires a specific answer, I just want to get right to that answer because I don't want to be here like all night. Right. The specific question was not with respect to us allotting you money for an attorney. That's a different issue. In your answer, you were indicating that you have the authority to move money from one line item to another, to move it into that. We don't disagree, we don't agree with that, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I'm not asking you about any specific case or any circumstance. I'm asking you, how much money do you believe that you have the authority to move into that line item? I'm not asking you how much you want to or how much you plan on or what case, or how much do you believe you have the authority to move into that line item from other line items?
To be fair, if I get an attorney, I can consult an attorney, because this is sort of like a real difficult question.
No, it's a number, and it's not about a specific case. It's
If
just how.
I don't have a
if
need
you've
for
got a-
35,000, I wouldn't ask for 35,000.
I'm not asking how much you would ask for. I'm really trying to get into what you think you have the authority to do, because you're indicating in here that you don't have to come to us, that you've got the authority to move from other line items, and there's conflicting things in here, and I'm trying to get to what you believe you have the authority. I'm not asking you what you're going to do. I'm asking you what you believe you have the authority without us to move into that line item.
I don't have a belief figure to say.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you giving me that, just if you don't have a specific number, I'm okay with you saying I don't know.
Okay.
I really am. So then with respect to the belief that you have the authority to do that, in the case, some of the cases where there's been a denial, you've been afforded corp counsel and you've been afforded their opinion. And so that is providing you with an attorney. You've not accepted that opinion, but if we're provided an attorney and they have given you an opinion, then haven't we satisfied that in those situations? Whether you agree with the opinion or not, we've provided an attorney that has read the contracts and all of those things and given you an opinion, like on the grievances.
I have not received any assistance from legal counsel on the grievances. The process does not include attorneys.
I thought that you received opinions both from HR and from corp counsel on several issues, even long before grievances were filed.
No, the issue was my statutory interpretation of my rights under the Constitution.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because this is the second time you've said it. And you said it a lot the last time you were in front of us. Are you speaking to the federal Constitution or the state Constitution?
Well, we have both constitutions
Okay, so
govern my offices.
So would you tell me what section of the federal Constitution you're referring to when I ask you a specific question about something and you refer to your constitutional rights, and because none of us know what that means. So if you could give us specifically the part of the Constitution of the United States that you are calling upon when you're telling us about your constitutional rights, specifically with regard to this question, which is counsel was provided to you. And they gave you their advice on what the contract said and what you could do and what you could not do. So what section of the United States Constitution or the Michigan State Constitution are you referring to when you're invoking that in this question?
I said earlier, and I referred to the deputies' positions, and that is in a legal court case, so I don't want to get into that argument. I will continue to say that as a constitutional officer and part of the judiciary branch, I have many positions of obligations to not only the court, but to the public. I am the keeper of the records from the state of Michigan.
Okay, so when you're referring to the Constitution, you're referring to the Constitution just vaguely and generally. And so for you, that means it applies to whatever you're applying it to.
No.
So I want to get back, because other people have questions, so I really want to get back to the question at hand. And that is, because I'm concerned about you moving money into that line item over issues that you've been provided counsel. So when you've been provided counsel, and these are people that have spent years reading these contracts and reading the policies, and they're giving you sound advice on what you can and can't do, and you choose to disregard that, then why should we provide you, or why should you have the right to move money into that line item if you've already been afforded attorneys giving you advice throughout the process?
It's a disagreement we have, and under the charter, I have a right in a position to question an opinion.
Okay, and with respect to that, I would agree with you if it's one disagreement, but you've disagreed with everybody over everything, and in every single one of those disagreements, you want an attorney and you want to spend money on an attorney. And I just wanted, just generally speaking, did it ever occur to you that if you disagree with everybody who's been trained in the county and knows what they're doing and has known for years, if you disagree with everybody on everything and you want to hire counsel to fight everybody, is it possible that they're not the ones that are wrong?
It is an opinion. It's your opinion, and I have an opinion, and that's what makes arguments possible.
Okay, so the second thing that you brought about was with regard to the lien. The second question was with regard to the lien. So you indicated in here with regard to the lien that you, let's see, page 5, that you wanted to hire part-time workers to address the backlog, and that HR denied that. Is that a union contractual issue?
In my opinion, everybody works together as we can. We sit down and discuss the needs of my offices and the vacancies that I have. And the way the process works in hiring an employee is not the fastest process to go through. And I just am working with HR to fill already vacancies and moving people up to hire new people. And this is a process we're doing right now. The idea you brought forth today to add additional part-time help for a deficiency in the liens will work. That's for a specific need. That's where the design of me having counter deputies come into play. They're more at will to do a task that's not outside the scope of a union employee.
Okay, so you want additional part-time employees for positions that you haven't even put the full-time employees into yet?
For the need of that need right now, it would have to work that quickly, yes. It is a need that you just can't go into the process of hiring a position and creating a position.
Have you, because I know from day one, because of that first letter you sent out before you ever took office about you were going to get rid of a number of employees, I know from day one that you were told there were contract issues with the things you wanted to do. So I'm just curious, have you read and studied the union contracts that apply to your department?
I have read the contract. We sit down with the process of the grievances.
No, I just mean,
I'm just
I don't mean the
explaining
grievances.
how I
I just want to
understand
know
your-
if you've
your-
actually sat down and read these contracts.
Yes, I have.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to focus back a little bit on the liens, and then I'm going to ask you some pretty simple questions. You acknowledge that we're 4,400 lien entries behind. Is that true, Ms. Spranger?
Yes.
Okay. And you acknowledge that that's a serious
Yes.
danger to the public, to the nature of how our society works if lien entries aren't up to date. You agree with that, correct?
Yes,
Okay. You also were elected by the people. Is that correct?
that's correct.
You won an election. Now, in some of your answers, you always talk about a constitutional right or a statutory right you have, and you've even filed a lawsuit against the county to invoke this statutory or constitutional right to decide, I guess, how to hire people. Do you think the people voted you in to bring lawsuits to find out about what might be your constitutional right or your statutory right? Or do you think the people voted you in to make sure the lien entries are up to date? What's more important? You tell me.
Well, of course, the lien will
Okay.
be.
You agree that the lien entries are important.
You're right.
So then let's talk about that, because this isn't about a Democrat or Republican thing. This isn't about a union or management thing. This isn't about one branch of government trying to overpower another branch of government. It's about doing the job you were elected by the people to do. And you've acknowledged now that you're not fulfilling that obligation. Isn't that correct?
I abstain from answering that question.
It's a simple question. If you're 4,400 lien
We
entries
are
behind,
that behind. I stated the reason. I was honest about finding that number, and I explained that there was only one person with the supervisor and possibly other workers who were doing that. But between the e-filing, working on the counter, multitasking, in the jobs that the staff do, understanding the full operations is necessary to know where there needs to be more people to do the task totally and completely finished. Not part way, not 15 minutes on the job, 20 minutes or an hour. If it takes 4 hours to do this work, then it's calculated as 4 hours. And I had overtime just to deal with the e-filing, the backlogs on that issue. And this is another issue that's critical.
there's no doubt it's critical, but now let me ask you this, and it relates to the whole idea of these arguments about who you can hire and who you can't hire. Your department is down on people, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Human resources and you could work together to fill those positions, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why haven't you been able to fill the positions? The easiest way to solve the lien problem is to hire more people. You have it in your budget to hire at least 7 to 11 more people to fill these positions, and yet you haven't done that. Is that because you're interested in your lawsuit and your constitutional and statutory right, or are you interested in getting the lien entries up to date? Which one is it?
It's hiring people, getting the lien system up to its capability of like 0, but it always will be there because of the continuous process of cases coming in.
Then why haven't you
the-
gone to human resources and work with the number of applicants they've had given you and hire them to get the job done? Why haven't you done that?
I have. And what happened is during the process, there is a way to use the computer called NeoGov. And it is a process that's not like the old-fashioned way. You fill out application, you come in, you sit down, you go through the interview, and you know within less than 3 days or a week. The process that we use today is not that quick. The hiring manager and the way they designed that program, it takes 3 people to process the information.
Let me ask you something.
And
Do you have to, let
I'm
me ask you
trying to
something.
ex-
Commissioner,
Okay.
Commissioner Leonetti, can I just intervene for a second? We know that there's a problem between HR and the clerk's office, and we know that HR has been trying to accomplish this hiring that we're talking about that's needed to fulfill this, and we know that there's been issues between them for about 8 months now. So I know that you're driving to the point that we should be hiring these people. They should have been hired a long time ago. This is not a process that takes long. We've all hired many people in our departments very quickly when jobs are vacant and jobs are necessary to be performed. And this is another problem with the clerk's office that is not a problem anywhere else. So I don't want to keep driving on the
I won't
same-
drive on the same subject because I have 2 more questions. The next question is,
Can I
with,
just say a statement?
now, let me ask a question. Let me ask the question. The question is, with the people that you have and you're understaffed, do you have any idea how much overtime it's going to cost in order to get us these 4,400 lien entries up to some reasonable number? Any idea what the overtime budget's going to be?
To be honest, no.
It's a fair answer. My other question is, it's simply this. I know, and maybe this is a point of information. Lisa Emerson, who's the supervisor, is that the supervisor who's in charge of lien entry?
She is.
Okay. She's here, present. Is there any way we can bring her up, or you prefer not to? Okay. All right. I have no further questions.
Okay. There are a few other people on here. I don't want to keep going on the same topic. We understand we're 4,400 lien entries behind. We understand now we've made it perfectly clear how dangerous it is to the public. So although everybody has the right to speak, I don't want to keep speaking to the same topic over and over. I think we're very clear that this is as important of an issue as we have going on in this county right now, along with a few others that we haven't even tapped into yet. So I have Commissioner Sauger, then Commissioner Lucido, then we're going to get into the next backlog, and that's e-filing, which is in a very similar situation than this, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that. But Commissioner Sauger.
Mr. Spranger, did you know anything about the lien machine before you got elected?
No.
And what happened to the people that were running it while you were there yet? When you took office, what happened to those people?
I said one person did retire, and the supervisor, who is the chief supervisor for the court, Lisa Emerson.
Okay, you're speaking of one person. I worked there 26 years. I know there's a couple other deputies in the audience. We were never that far behind on lien machine. We had people up to date who were taking care of it, and it's such a serious operation that it's a criminal act if you get screwed up on a thing. And I'm just wondering, what if you didn't know nothing about it? Why didn't you keep the people that were there or lay in it? They say, hey, help me out. But I never heard that. And I haven't heard a thing in 11 months you've been there that you've accomplished with that lien machine.
I did ask to bring back the person that retired part-time.
That seems to be your answer so many times. I asked. Something's wrong.
I asked.
Something's wrong when you keep saying you ask, you never get. We ask, we talk about it, we get. So I'm not going to prolong this thing, but I don't think you got anybody up there that knows anything about that lien machine, and it's such a criminal act to get involved with the wrong side of it that I don't know who you got running it and who does the interviewing to run the lien machine. Quit writing and just listen and give me an answer. Who does the people that you have interviewing for people to get qualified for the lien machine? Who are they? From your staff?
From the staff in the clerk's office,
And
correct.
how qualified are they?
They went to the class, and they're going to get certified.
I'm done.
Thank you. Commissioner Lucido.
I have just one question. Obviously, the number 4,400 seems like a lot.
It is a lot.
Do you know the answer? Are we aware of what other counties around us, what their
No,
backlog
I have
is?
not. No, I have not.
Okay, I think that might be something to look into because, I'm unaware of that answer, but I think that if you had something to compare it to, you would know where your goal should be. If you're saying that.
This is a goal to take care of immediately.
Right, but specifically, like, you don't ever want to be so far behind. How far behind? I mean, you said that there's always been a backlog. What is an appropriate number?
As you look at how the process works and who's been doing it and the different tasks that they were taken away from to keep doing that particular task, you have to balance that decision, and usually that is done within the supervision and the people that are working in that department, because I might not be there to oversee it, but now that I will be overseeing it, to have this
I just
addressed.
think that might be interesting for you to look into, just to see maybe Oakland, Wayne, where they're at with their
I agree.
system. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Commissioner, I believe that the standard is no more than 1 day behind, and I know that we are months behind at this point. Commissioner Majek?
Do you know what the backlog was at the beginning of the year, January?
I do not.
You do
I
not.
did not take inventory on
And
that.
how many people are entering it into the system right now?
The 3 people that were going to the class started to get into the.
I don't want to know about people going and taking tests.
Well,
I want
you
to know
have
right
to
now.
take the class in order to do that job.
Right, so
Commissioner,
they're not.
Because
Commissioner
you've got
Majek,
to
she's
learn
stated
it.
there's one person right now
No.
that's,
And that's Lisa
to
Emerson.
put in right now, and that's the supervisor that's
Okay,
back.
and then how many can one person do per hour or per day if there's 4,400?
I don't have that answer. I
Shouldn't-
would have. I
Shouldn't
would
you
have to
consult with her?
Yes. I would-
Shouldn't you, it'd be wise to consult with someone who's an expert in this field to help give you guidance and hire the necessary people to get this done? This is very serious. There's a lot of things going on in your office, but again, you're putting the public at risk. This is crucial here and unacceptable. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next question is, has to do with e-filing, which is similar to what we're talking about with the liens. And I'd like to tee up Commissioner Leonetti, who is one of our resident attorneys, just to give a quick explanation to those commissioners and those in the audience that might have an idea of what e-filing consists of, but aren't 100% sure on it. Will you give us just a quick rendition of what e-filing is, and then I'll get back to the question.
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chair. E-filing program is related to several types of cases here in Macomb County, and it's statewide as well. Any civil cases, automobile accident cases, contract dispute cases, those would have to all be entered into the e-filing system. Divorce cases, ones without children, are also entered into the e-filing system. And it's really an area where soon we're going to probably have almost every type of case be entered into the e-filing system. Now, the way it works is if you file a particular order, let's say in a divorce case, like an injunctive order to stop another party from removing assets from the bank or from, say, like the home, you have to enter that order into the e-filing system. And you indicate it's a proposed order that you want the judge to enter. Now, hopefully, you get that order entered pretty quick, because if your opponents are trying to take money out of a bank account and you don't have that order in your hand quick enough, you're going to have an empty bank account. The way it works, say, in Oakland County, which is up to snuff, is I file that order, and within 12 minutes, I can tell you, I get an order back. There's no problems. When I file a document at Oakland County, within 12 minutes, I get a response back that it's not only been received, but it's been entered into the system. I can testify a little bit to my personal experience as an attorney here in Macomb County when I file Macomb County cases in e-filing, if you'd like me to.
Well, sure, just briefly. I know right now we are, as of the report, a month behind.
Yeah. What happens is when I file a case now, it does indicate that it's been filed, but it doesn't indicate that it's been received by the court. Certainly, as an attorney and representing clients, you want to be able to tell clients, look, I filed your thing, and it's been received by the court. You can rest in peace, sort of, in terms of your legal case. The problem we have here is, unlike Oakland County, like I said, if I file something in Oakland County, not only do I get an indication that it's been received almost within 12 minutes, but oftentimes in the case of an order, within a half hour, I'll have a note that it's been entered. In Macomb County, I filed things. It indicates it's been filed. It's been weeks before I've noted that it's been entered into the system, and that can cause a problem. For the most simple divorce case, to, you can imagine, some complex civil litigation cases, and the judges are starting to feel it up there. The attorneys are starting to feel it, and it's a problem. Now, I understand it's a relatively new system, and I do agree with Clerk Spranger that it's 24 hours. So there's attorneys filing things at 11 o'clock at night or over the weekends and stuff. And so she's got to keep on top of that. It's not like the usual routine where they come in the past where it was 9 to 5. Now you've got things coming in, in the evening and over the weekends. But the system was in place last year, and it was never this far behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Add really quick to that.
We're going to go on to the
Well,
question.
I have a
line
question,
here,
Mr. Chairman, to the chair, to the counselor.
but just to explain the e-filing a little
just-
better.
Does
Thank
that
you.
also pertain to personal protection orders?
Personal protection orders are still, I believe, done through the customary way where you go to the court and actually enter it that way.
All right, thank you. Thank
Yep.
you, Mr. Chairman, for the latitude.
Thank you. And Commissioner Toko, to add to that?
Just real two quick comments to Commissioner Leonetti. If the case is an e-file case, you are not allowed to walk downstairs or upstairs and file it at the counter. You are stuck having to use the e-file system. The second thing is that the county charges additional money with each case and each e-filing to make sure that the e-filing is done and done timely. So you're charged a fee in addition to the counter fee.
Thank you. So, Clerk Spranger, these questions, and I'm not going to ask all the questions I have there. This is almost exactly the same problem that we're having with the lien. One of the main things that this is affecting is the court was supposed to be transitioning to a new e-filing system beginning yesterday, and they weren't able to do that. And I'm just wondering if you know if that's because of the severe backlog that you have in e-filing cases right now.
It's probably a combination because the software in the outage problem on changing the computer system that they use was upgraded. It caused a slowdown in the system processing. So you can't get the data in to the system as it was designed before. And this was one of the biggest complaints. All the clerks wrote emails and they all addressed them. My problem is I feel I should use maybe my technology fund and use that money to invest in a better software program that just sustains my office to put the data in quickly, have it available, so that that system that they have works with my system. And then either system goes down in one instance where the computers fail, we will have a backup where it would be designed to where it could hold the capacity that we're going to. E-filing is going to be the new way of technology. The paper way is not going to be here. So the e-filing system is up on the 6th floor where you can go up there and you process it. I don't own the software. I don't have the capacity to have decision-making in it. I only supply the workers and what we can do with the system we have. It's an old-fashioned system in my mind. It's not as quick as the newer computer systems are and the newer programs that are available. That's where I think the good reporting would be done, is to see how the other counties design it. We're talking about Oakland County, who has the 24-hour turnabout. So these are things that I'm looking into for a long-term fix.
Excuse me, Clerk, have you been working with the IT and the court's IT regarding any of these problems, or are these things that you're coming up with your people that are ideas that should happen? Or are these coming from our IT department, which we have a massive IT department, and the court's IT department? Have you been working with them on this process?
Yes, we have.
Okay,
And we've been documenting the problems. All the clerks have been taking
Okay.
snapshots of what is happening on their computer, why it seemed to be so many more new bundles were coming in, but it wasn't the bundles that belong to the art section. So it only could hold maybe max to 2,000 in the capacity, not to 3,000 or 4,000 as a capacity.
Okay, Clerk Spranger, you mentioned something about that e-filing is the wave of the future, and we're not paper's going away, and we're going to electronics. But I remember not that long ago, you took away everybody's iPads, and they were writing receipts in carbon copy paper. Is that going the right direction or wrong
Well, the
direction
reason
now, or
that-
what are we at with that?
The analogy of that was the cashiering is doing that function. So if you're doing the function while you're waiting on the customer, the cashier doesn't have anything else to do but take in the cash. Her job was to do that function. So as you take that time slot away and delegate it more efficiently and effectively, and how to make things work not faster but more complete, more effective, to where you get it done in a timely manner. That's what I'm assessing. And we have a lot of veterans in this department that comes up with some really good ideas to work towards working with the court and working with IT.
Clerk Spranger, I'm back to the iPads. Are they back with everybody, or are we still writing things by hand?
The cash flow on the iPads, the chip was missing when they moved me into the new building. It didn't have the chip to record the cash.
Okay, that's my
Just the
question.
credit card
So
transactions.
I'm going to ask two questions regarding the e-filing. How much of the e-filing backlog has to do with what you've already explained, and you don't have to explain it again, your problem, perceived problem or problem with the system, the software, and how much of it has to do with the fact that there's such a high rate of vacancy in your department?
The vacancies are related to when I came into office.
I'm not asking
I
what they're
know, I'm
related to,
just-
but how much do the vacancies affect the e-filing backlog? Is it a vacancy problem, or is it a software problem, or is it both?
It's a combination. It's a combination
Okay.
because you have to be trained from a 4-month period to get up to e-filing.
Okay, we're going to get back to the training again. Do we have people in training for this, that we can
Yes.
increase this? And how many people are in training right now? And how many
Once-
people are able to do it right now?
Once we go through the NeoGov to get the people moved up and the applicants come in, and let's say there's 200 applicants and I get 12 out of the 200, we get the interview process going and then we start hiring them and training them. So
Okay,
these
so this has
people
been-
are doing
we're working
e-filing
on it.
already because they have computer skills. Some of them worked in attorneys' offices. Some of them are familiar with e-filing already. So those are the type of candidates I look for a long-term purpose when I do interviews to hire.
Okay, so this has been going on for quite some time. I remember talking to you about this months and months and months ago, but now we're hiring for this. I don't understand why only now we
Well,
don't have
what-
people in place in training already.
This is what happened.
Oh,
The candidates' applications came in for Register of Deeds. They were perfect candidates for the clerk's office. They had all the criteria I just spoke about. We couldn't get their applicants to transfer over to the clerk's office. I don't know why, but it just didn't happen. One out of the 12 did both applications, so I hired her immediately because I knew she had the skills that I needed to fulfill and move her up to e-filing because of the computer abilities and her background in working in the attorney's office. So I couldn't transfer the right candidates to my right department because data entry is strictly for Register of Deeds. So I got those applicants for the clerk's office. So I had a real issue on how to maneuver this thinking process that happens on occasions that I lost most of those candidates because the time frame moved forward. Those are the things that I really feel is an issue that I'm still trying to be creative on how to do it quicker, more efficiently, and get the people in there. I brought in temps on my own accord to HRLR and brought them in immediately. So I am very creative on doing some of the things successfully to move forward on a stumbling block that is dependent on a system that is not workable in a timely manner to get applicants quickly, efficiently, and to hire them.
okay, Clerk, I would like to ask you when you're going to have the e-filing caught up, but I'm afraid that we'll probably be here for another 45 minutes trying to figure that out. So I know that's part of a lawsuit also that's going on with the court and with, so I guess we'll let, I'm thinking I should let them deal with that in court on getting you up to
yeah.
date on these. So unless you have a date for me that you believe that you're going to be caught up, and that's all I would like to hear is a date. If you don't have a date, that's fine. I don't want to hear why we don't have a date.
No, I do not have a date, but I would be happy to give you a date as soon as I can
Okay.
commit to it.
No.
Because it depends on the numbers of how I can get
I understand it depends on a lot of
the
different things, so-
consistency of them
Okay.
doing the e-filing every day.
Commissioner Brown, I believe you're up to speak on this issue.
Thank you. And I want to thank Commissioner Leonetti for explaining the e-filing and how it affects real people on a day-to-day basis. I mean, that could be really emotional. People trying to file documents to try to prevent things that they're already in an emotionally charged situation that could lead to more problems, perhaps physical problems. And that's dangerous. Would you agree?
Absolutely, Commissioner Brown. It's the things that the clerk does in her function affect most people that come to government. Most people want to have nothing to do with government, but they do have to come often to the clerk's office for things like marriage license, birth certificates, and unfortunately in the cases of divorce. And these are everyday things that affect everyday people. And what's so frustrating is we're behind. And you were elected, right? You were elected by she was elected by the people to keep the train moving. And all we have are games and jockeying, and it's affecting everyday people.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner
Well,
Brown.
I appreciate that. My brother's a police officer in Oakland County. In fact, his friend who joined the force just was buried the other day in Oakland County because he got run over by a criminal out of Macomb County. Now, maybe that lien system, having that lien system backed up so far puts police officers' lives at risk to deal with them every day. This thing with the court, the e-filing, dealing with people that are already emotionally charged, having their issues postponed and delayed, having things happen in their lives that they thought the legal system was going to take care of for them, is letting them down. Your incompetence of running that department and letting these backlogs continue and build is dangerous to the whole county. Do you realize that?
Yes.
And I don't sense the urgency. I don't sense the urgency. How can you
Commissioner, that's why
you-
there's
you-
there's lawsuits going on, because everybody else realizes the urgency of this. And unfortunately, there is a process, well, fortunately.
her
there's a
incompetence is
process.
dangerous.
I understand your opinion.
And
I
it-
think it's a lot of people's opinion, but the problem is we aren't going to solve it at this way.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you. Just very briefly, you don't have the deputy for the court section of your department, right? The clerk section, you have the Register of Deeds deputy.
Correct.
So if you were to get that position filled, they probably could aid you in, first of all, instead of trying to get applications for different positions, you could actually post the positions that you need. People actually, they come and they apply, and then you get the field from them. And if you fill that position, you would be helped tremendously in that, wouldn't you?
I agree.
Okay, so is that something that you're committed to working on?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Commissioner Kleinfeld, just a little bit on that. I've talked to the chief judge several times. The chief judge is the one that approves that appointment. I know that Clerk Spranger has brought several applicants to him that he does not feel met the requirements for that position. He did give her a list of some minimum qualifications months and months ago to bring people to him, and I know that there's been nobody that has been brought to his attention that have come close to meeting these minimum requirements that he put on this. So it is not a it's not a roadblock. It is simply a minimum requirement that the chief judge believes should be that.
Has that
held to
position been
position.
posted on our website, on the county website, so that it might actually reach people that have those sorts of
I have a
qualifications?
candidate already, and I'm waiting for the judge's approval.
Yes, but if you're having a problem getting people that are qualified, and you're just and you're recognizing you're new to this job and you don't know a lot about the job you're learning. So if you're just plucking people out of your circle of people that you know, and you're not putting it on the website with specific criteria that HR could help you with to attract the candidates that could actually do the job, you're bound to have the same failure with the chief judge that you've had over and over and over again. So what do you think about posting that on our website and allowing specific people with those criteria to apply for the position?
This issue is in the lawsuit, so I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay. One more and I'll let you, with regard to the shortages, and I don't know if they're just general shortages of employees or e-filing or whatever, so I wasn't sure where to ask this, but you have in your answer on page 11 under clerk's office document filing. It's not e-filing, but I think it applies. What you're going to do to lower wait times, and you said under information and belief, as of November 27, 2017, the filling of vacant staff positions for qualified staff will be noticed to the public. So as of November 27th, the positions will be noticed to the public. So does that mean all this time, I mean, we've had you up here, the employees are saying we need help, we're understaffed, HR is saying we'll help you. Are you indicating that you actually all this time you haven't been posting these positions?
It goes through the process, HRLR, we work together. The question was, if those average wait times are longer, why are they longer? And what, if anything, you're doing to shorten the wait time?
Yes.
So, November 27th, I sat down and gave a lot of thought to this question. And I mentioned that I think if I put this out to the public, publish it in the newspaper and get some applications, do a little interviewing, and present their applicant to HRLR. Right now, the system is within the county. The system works within the applicant filling out the application. The way it happened when I first came in, the application was given to me, you filled it out, and it happened with the rest of the staff for the deputies. Now you go in, it's emailed to you. There was a lot of people who inquired, came back to my office and said, they still didn't get the application emailed to them from HRLR.
Okay.
So I'm just saying
you've got
whether,
you're talking a lot about a process.
yes,
But see, I guess the way that the rest of us think is we have a vacancy and we need to fill it. We contact our HR and we say I have this vacancy, this position. It's got a list of criteria. Would you post it on the website, get applications, they screen the applications, they let you know who's qualified. So you're talking about posting it in the newspaper. It sounds like you don't want to follow the process for the way that we hire employees. Would you agree with that? Is that what, that's?
no, I don't. I've been doing that process and I haven't gotten my vacancies fulfilled. Some of the applicants in the beginning were filled. During the turnover and the retirement in the Register of Deeds section, in the retirement in the clerk's office, it's called a turnover. Sometimes we know ahead of time, a month or two, but you can't post a position until that person retires.
But you're not down one
I'm
position or two
explaining.
positions. Well, I know, but see, everybody else wants to speak, and if you explain for my question for a half an hour, they won't get mad at you, they'll get mad at me. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen. So you just sort of vaguely talk about a process, and I haven't been able to get my mind about what's in your mind with regard to a process. But I think you may actually have to go through some sort of training on what the process actually is. And
I have staff that process into NeoGov, and it's a three-way process. It's not a one job process.
But, okay, just back to, see, you're really good at getting me in the weeds.
No, I'm
My
just trying to
original
explain
question
how
was-
it works.
But my original question was with respect to your statement that as of November 27th, the filling of vacant staff positions for qualified staff will be noticed to the public. So that's as of, what's today's date? That's so 3 days ago. So all this time, with all of the union grievances, the screaming HR, the county executive saying, you got to get this stuff done, all this time, none of that's occurred. So you said as of November 27th. So as of November 27th, are all those vacant positions now posted on our website?
I would double check. I would say some of them are that I know of. The ones that I don't know of is because when you put it into the system, we use the word it pings, and it goes through the process of 3 departments for approval. And when I called finance to say there was a problem with an
So,
applicant,
Clerk, is it safe to say you don't know? Is that
No,
the answer?
I
You
do-
don't know?
no.
You don't know if they're all posted at this moment?
I believe they should be in what I need, yes.
Okay.
What I've been doing to fill them, to
That's not what
answer
she
the
asked. She asked
question about,
if they are posted at this moment, and that's the question. Are they posted? Do you know? Do you not know? If you don't know, it's okay.
they're posted, and I believe there's candidates to actually bring in.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, and, I just haven't had any other department head say, this long, laborious process, nobody else has had the problem. And if nobody else is having the issue, and I said this earlier, it's possible that it's not HR and it's not us. It's possible you might want to reflect inward and ask if it's you. Thank you.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Real short. With regard to the
believe that.
backlog of e-filing, is your department having to rely on overtime to catch up on the backlog of e-filing?
It's what we had to do for the emergency of the number because of the move that I had in the court
Clerk,
section.
is it a yes or no?
Is it yes or
Yes.
no? Yes, so you're using overtime. Any idea on what amount of overtime you may have to utilize to get caught up to on the e-filing?
I don't want to guess.
Okay, no, that's fair. If you don't know, you don't know.
If I guess and it's not accurate in
I would
my
prefer
mind,
you
it's
tell me you
hard to
just don't
ask.
know. But
I
you do
I
agree
wa-
that there's overtime that's going to be needed in order to.
Yes, and I
Okay.
have been doing that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Carabelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Clerk, do you see any frustration in the room today?
In what way?
Any board
I
members?
know the questioning
Do you
has,
see any frustration in any board members today?
I hear in the questions and I see an expression which would be frustration, yes.
Okay. Do you know why they're frustrated? Well, let me answer that question. I'll tell you why they're frustrated. Because we care. We care. We got elected to do a job to represent our residents. We want to make sure that they are getting what their tax dollars are paying for. We want to make sure people are safe. We want to make sure records are available. We turn around and we do the daily business of the county for the people. And I mentioned this to you before. You may not like some of the processes, and you have that right not to like them. But at the end of the day, there's rules that got to be followed. And you can attempt to change them after you follow them, but not in midstream where you don't get anything done. And I sit back and I listen to all the questions right now. And I hear the answers you're giving is that you're frustrated personally on the process. And I respect that. You can't change the process by not doing anything. People are going to be hurt because of nothing getting done. Before you took an oath to take your job, I told you one of the most important positions that you needed to fill was what?
The admin coordinator,
That does the budgets, correct?
that's correct.
Did you fill it?
No, I have not.
That was December, almost a year ago today. Okay? I'm sorry. We all want to help you. We want to make sure our residents are getting what they're paying for. But you're not helping yourself. You went to a training for clerks, Michigan Association of County Clerks, did you not?
Yes, I did.
You understand that you pay a membership for that?
Yes.
Yeah. How many times after your initial training have you reached out for help?
With the association?
Yes.
When I go to the meetings, we talk.
No, ma'am. How many times have you reached out with the problems that you're occurring here in Macomb County? Have you reached out to the association that you're paying a fund for to belong to? They're supposed to give you resources to do your job and assist you. How many times have you personally reached out to assist you in the problems you're having?
I do it when we have conversations and I go to my meetings. The solutions sometimes, as the clerk of the county,
Do you know they have legal representation for you at your organization?
yes, I do.
Have you reached out to their attorney?
I have not asked the attorney.
Okay. The next question I have for you, have you reached out to any of our sister counties that border us for assistance in helping you achieve the duties of your job?
We've talked,
Have you
And
asked
I
them for
have-
assistance?
not in the way of assistance, no.
Okay. I heard you answer a commissioner to my left, a commissioner across, in the board chair on hiring. I had HR up here and you up here the last time. You told me you thought that you had maybe 9 positions not filled. I think HR told me it was 15 that were not filled, or 15. Do you know how many employees in the 27 adopted budget you have?
85.
In the clerk's office? That's in the clerk's office.
I didn't bring my figures
60.
to break it.
60. You now, in this report, say that you're 13 employees short. So in all, if I'm correct, 13 employees are stated in here that you're short.
I think the correction would be 10, but
These are
13
your
is-
numbers, not
I
my
know,
number. I'm just
I
going
know,
by what
I
you're
added
telling
it up, 13.
Is it 10 or 13? That's what I,
See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It'd be 10.
pardon?
It'd be 10. It was an error on my part.
No problem. So this should be saying
The
10.
total was 12, and I counted as 10.
I'm
but
sorry,
I
say-
would have to
Say that
say
one more
when
time.
this-
The total's what?
The total that's written on the report on page 14 was 12. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 3 is 10.
Well, on the
The-
report
The
that,
chief.
on the report that you gave us, when did we receive this?
Yes, on the
Mr. Chair?
page 14.
When did we receive this? From the clerk's office?
I was referring to this one.
This afternoon, well, I'm just saying, that, and here you say that you have 13. And again, I believe it's like 15 plus that you're short.
Well,
And now
I
you're
wouldn't
saying
agree
you're-
with 15 plus.
Oh, okay, here nor there. The point is that you're not sure how many employees you're short, 10, 12, or 13. HR says it's a different number. So, again, I advised you before you took office to fill that one position to assist you in your budget, right? Remember
Yes.
that conversation?
Yes?
Okay. I'm now, again, asking you to reach out to Michigan Association of County Clerks, your sister county clerks that surround you, to assist you. We are here to help you any way you need, within reason. I don't want to convolute this anymore. From one commissioner right now, looking and talking to you, Madam Clerk, if you can look at me for a minute.
Yes.
We need you to win. You need to help yourself. You need to follow the rules that are here. And if you want to change them after the fact, all power to you. But in the meantime, our residents are suffering. Employees in here are disgruntled. We have litigation all over the place. We have grievances. We need to stop this, and we need to do the work of the people. This is coming from me.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Madam Clerk, I have a couple more questions for you. They are, one of them is regarding the text messaging system that was in place to, for those jurors that are called to jury duty. So there's a program that was put in place that was proven to increase the amount of jurors that were asked to come to court by over 20% in its initial phase. And I know it got better as things moved forward. That text messaging process that they came up with in the prior administration, increased efficiencies, helped the jury pool reflect a little more accurately as a jury of your peers. I have a question for you. Did you consult with anyone before you just canceled this program?
It's still in effect. The other counties that was brought up to compare and see what they're doing, we are the only county that offers this service. That
So
I
you're
know
saying the
of.
jury text messaging is still in effect and it's still being utilized?
It's going to be coming up for a renewal. And the decision I have to make under the budget in the process of the cost that they want to increase, I would have to make a decision on that.
Since that's coming up for renewal, have you talked to anyone about that process? And have you talked to anyone about the efficiencies of it versus the cost?
Because this is part of the court and the jury commission itself, I am just a part of. I'm not the design of that commission to make decisions, but I'm a part of it. So it would be between the commission who serves it to sit down and reevaluate what that service could be sustainable with the budget I have and the cost that's going to be increased on it. So I will be doing that.
Okay. There's a lot of problems and not a lot of answers at this point.
Well-
So let me ask you this, just out of curiosity, would you be opposed to having all the jury-related functions that are assigned to you actually assigned to the court and have the budgetary and staff reassigned, the budgetary money and the staff reassigned to the court? There's a lot of things you guys do for the court that it sounds like are falling behind and woefully inadequate. In some areas, the courts actually handle some of the things that the clerk does now. Would you have an issue with transferring some of those court-related functions to the court?
I will be honest about the way balance is in our government to be structured. Looking to see if other counties have such agreements or a process that they work in that nature. I think that is a good way to resolve an issue of this kind. So I would be very open to reviewing and looking at that as a possibility and researching it to make a good decision.
Okay, are you going to look into that? Are you going to ask someone to look into
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
Okay, good. And we'll be happy to help you with that.
Okay.
You speak in your answers about management rights. Can you tell me what legal authority supports your interpretation of management rights?
It's written really well in the union contract, and I didn't memorize it. I just wish I would have been prepared for this question to really read it as well as it was written.
Well, Clerk, you talk a lot about your management rights. You've talked about the management rights basically since you came in here, and your idea of management rights from the beginning seemed to indicate that you thought that your rights as a manager usurped the union contracts and the county's HR policies. And that's, I guess, where we're getting at, where I'm getting at with this is your idea of management rights. I want to know where your idea of management rights comes from.
I think many times when I came before the board, before I even became the officer, I talked about balance in government. I talked about the harmony that's needed and how citizens participate and how we want to be accountable and be transparent. When I decided to take this position, and run for office, my whole goal and dream is to really be accountable to the voters of Michigan and to bring back government for the people, by the people, with the people. So accountability and transparency is all what my dream is all about. And when there are issues already existing in the position I came into, I'm dealing with it. I'll take responsibility. I will do the best I can.
So back to
And
the management rights.
I will work with the commissioners.
Let's
I've
get back to
a-
the management rights question.
Right.
You
But
mentioned
to
that a lot,
manage-
like you
to
mentioned
manage is the
statutory rights and your
same-
constitutional rights. I want to know
No,
if you...
it's the same word of working together as a team and putting the expertise of the people that already work in that department who knows their job and really been there for a long time.
Okay, so you talk
And
about
they've
harmony
done
and
a
unity and all of these things.
I
So
don't
let me
need
ask
to be
you
in
this
the
question.
office to run
We're not talking
the
about...
office of work. As the leader and as management goes, it is my responsibility, okay, to oversee the departments that I am a part of.
Okay.
Register deeds and the clerk's office.
You've spoke about your dream about harmony and all of this other, and you've mentioned that the morale in your office is great in your report. So if it's so great, can you ask me why there's been so many grievances? It's unprecedented, the amount of grievances coming out of any one department. And not only that, the shocking side of this is the grievances that have been upheld as appropriate by HR and by. So I hear about harmony, but I see nothing but discord. So can you explain why there's been so many grievances? I think I've heard in the past that it's a conspiracy amongst HR and the union, and I don't know who the Delden operatives are, but I read that a lot in the statement. So can you explain to me why your harmony has turned into such disharmony?
Well, when I came into the office, there was a lot of disharmony. I won't hide the fact. I never publicly talked about it. I never made statements during that time. The issue has escalated to where, if you call it a family feud, that's a good word to put it mildly, where when you give a task to someone and they say no, that is very difficult to deal with. But you have to do what you do as the boss or as someone who has to make sure you're accountable to do a job. There's always a reason why some things don't get done. And you try to go to that person and you talk to that person and you get down to the facts of it. Because I'm not going to say I'm there 24/7 in register deeds, because I can't. I have a deputy that does a wonderful job. In the atmosphere of that one building is where the grievances are from. Now, as the issue gets around about not listening or doing the task that you're assigned, or the supervisor and me have a difference of opinion on not reaching the goal of, simple example is opening the mail every day. Why are we behind? Why isn't it processed? What is the process? Those are the things that I am observing and watching and trying to resolve in a different way than tradition. You just don't do what they're doing and not be successful. Sometimes we have to change the way it's done to be more effective in getting the process. So those are some of the simple things to some of the other issues that is a way to say it's a growing pain. You have to understand.
Okay, Clerk, I'm
The
sorry, but
grievance
you're
itself.
you're way out. I don't know where we're going with
We-
all this, but so I guess my point is this isn't even a question anymore.
Okay.
We have 3 new Republican elected officials, Candace Miller, Larry Rocca, and yourself. I don't know that there's been any grievances coming out of any of those offices. I know that there's certainly not 1/100th of the problems in any of those offices. They came into situations that had other bosses before that did things different ways and were able to work around the problem and the problem with who opens the mail, which I know was a big problem early on. So again, I'm going to go back to Commissioner Kleinfeld's point. Pretty soon, it's time to stop pointing all your fingers everywhere around and look in the mirror and realize that the problem is within and not outside. Everybody is not out to get you. Everybody was out trying to help. The problem is you don't want everybody's help. You want to act like you want everybody's help until they offer you some help that you don't like. And quite honestly, the help you don't like is the union rules, HR's policies, the county rules. You don't like rules. And I can understand not liking rules. I mean, we were all kids once and we didn't like rules, but there are certain situations where we have to follow the rules, and you have not followed the rules. You've not followed any rules. You've chosen to discount any rule that this county has and go your own way. And I'm not looking for a response to that. I have a couple more speakers on here, and I'm sure you'll be able to respond.
I would like to
them.
respond.
Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Okay. First of all, I'm wondering if anybody up here knows the answer. There was a question with regard to employees handwriting receipts rather than providing computerized receipts, and the answer was that it's been that way for years. Does anybody know if that's incorrect or correct, specific to that section?
I've been practicing law in this county for more than 20 years, and I've never had a handwritten receipt for
Okay.
any of my filings. And in addition to handwritten receipts, there's been periods of time that I've been asked to write down my credit card information and give it on a slip of paper so that my pleadings could be charged at some other point. So we've got confidential credit card information floating around to pay for
and
documents.
so when she says this was a cash-related issue that's been in place in prior administrations, there seems to be a conflict. I just wanted to check on that. And the other one that you might know about is there was a question about a contract, Conduit ACS election contract services, and she says that they were never used for the election department. I don't know who asked this question. I don't know if anybody knows if that's correct or not. It's on page 13. It says when was the last payment made on the Conduit ACS election contract services? And she says they don't deal with the elections department.
I think that was my error in preparing the resolution.
Okay.
After that, our staff clarified that that's vital records, not elections, and
Okay, thank you. Okay, so on page 14, when there was a discrepancy as to how many vacancies, you said under information belief, the number of budgeted job descriptions and job classifications are different, as the supervisors that were terminated are not considered vacant by HRLR when they implemented their months-long investigation regarding their new administrative leave policy in violation of the collective bargaining agreement and countywide policies. Is it your position that the supervisors are terminated?
That's the position I took, correct.
Okay, is that still your position?
It was ordered for them to come back to work.
Okay.
It was in the court case.
Are they all back at work?
The ones that were still working for the department, one resigned, the supervisor, and the other two were brought back, and then the other employees were put on administrative leave.
Okay, I'm worried about losing the institutional knowledge. And on the next page, you're asked, are you bound by the collective bargaining agreement? And you say yes. And then it says, what due process rights do Clerk Register of Deeds office personnel have? And you say, they're derived by the United States Constitution and codified into federal and state employment laws. So are you not recognizing the rights that may be laid out in the actual union contract when you answer that way?
No, because they support one another. I believe the whole union contract recognizes constitutional laws and the federal laws.
Okay, but there may be procedures within the union contract that might not be in the Constitution. You understand that, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm almost done. Under what are you doing to improve morale in the Clerk Register of Deeds office? You respond, active pursuit of filling the necessary vacant positions with supervisors that care about employees. And the next question, how many of the unfilled positions do you intend to fill? And you say, I intend to fill all the essential vacant management positions. So you keep referring to you're gonna hire managers and supervisors. And I know that when you first came in there, you put out a memo, and I'm just gonna tell you, I think this was a big mistake. Before you ever got into the department and evaluated the people and what they do, you put out a memo that you intended to get rid of a lot of people and replace them with people that you deem to be deputies. So you seem to be focusing on hiring a lot of management people, but I'm not seeing the same focus on hiring the actual employees that would work for management. You do understand that you have more employees than you do managers, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay. My last question is, I have made a lot of mistakes in this position and throughout my time as an elected official. I've cast votes that I regret, and I'll tell you what, I don't ever forget them. I've said things to commissioners I probably shouldn't, particularly Commissioner Carabelli, and it felt good at the time. I feel a little bad about it now.
I take that as an apology publicly.
So I would like you to tell me in this process with regard to how you would deal with employees, hiring and firing, with regard to all of this, could you tell me where you've gone wrong and what you regret?
In honesty, I wish the transition back in December and November would have went better with the previous clerk.
Okay, that's something that the clerk, you're putting on her. I'm asking about you.
When we do a transition, the paperwork in the law is very clear that you do a transition. I reached out, and this I never said to the public, what happened in our conversation, me and her together. It was personal and private. It didn't go well. Nothing went well. A no is a no. So, it's the holiday. I go on vacation. A story gets written. I get quoted, and it wasn't me. So, there's the story. Now, I still have a transition of the paperwork to do in my office. And I don't like to embarrass departments as we're doing here today. And I feel very strong that it can be worked out directly with these departments. That's why I don't want...
I know. I was really hoping that you could think of something that maybe you shouldn't have done. And I
said I wished the transition could have done better, and if there was a transition that the board I could have came to and said the transition wasn't working, how could you intercede, right? That's a reach out.
Is it possible that on Christmas Eve, and I know you said you've been misquoted, but I've actually seen the letter. Is it possible that on Christmas Eve, sending a letter out to employees that you plan on deleting their positions might have been something that you regret and shouldn't have done?
I don't know what letter you're talking about.
We've got communication from you. I don't have it with me. I'm going to go look that up though, because we've got
I'm not-
communication specifically to you notifying of your intent when you come in, and you say you're going to replace your.
I know
you
my
wanna
two
combine.
deputies.
Remember, you wanted to combine salaries and then have bigger salaries for your deputies that you were going to bring in. Do you remember that?
I'm not recalling that
Okay.
right now. I'm
All
sorry.
right, then I can't. If you can't come up with a specific thing that you regret in all this time with all of the issues that are swirling around, then I think
haven't
we have
finished answering.
well, you regret how you interacted with the county clerk that's not here.
Point of information, Mr. Chair, if I may, did you show up at the transition meeting? Because the Macomb Daily clearly has a picture, an article that you did not. So you are lying.
No.
You are a consistent
The
liar.
clerk said no.
I'm not asking you anything. Thanks,
And-
Mr. Chair.
And the person that set up the meeting was told that the clerk herself said no, so I could not participate.
Okay.
All right.
Commissioner Kleinfelder, we're not going to find any
To end my
self-reflection here.
point, I could list 20 things right now over the years I regret on votes or how I've treated people or what I've said. And I didn't hear from you that you can think of a single thing as you're sitting up here. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is going to be a real simple yes or no question. We talked, this focus is talking about your managerial rights, and you've brought this up, and this was the first question I asked you this afternoon, your idea of managerial rights and the way you want to run your department. And you said you were elected and you came in with a dream of trying to run the department a certain way. This is a yes or no question. Do you believe that your management of the Macomb County Clerk's Department is direct result of us now being behind 4,400 lien entries? Is that a direct result of your management style? Yes or no?
I would say no.
Okay. Do you believe that your management style is a direct result causing us to be behind at least a month in e-filing? Yes or no?
Taking the responsibility would be yes.
For e-filing, it's a yes, but for the lien entry system, it's a no. That's all I want to know. Thank you.
Commissioner Majek? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sauger?
All I can say is we got a brand-new treasurer who I never knew. All new people, they come in and it's running just smooth as water. We got a brand-new clerk comes in, and my God, we're up and down them hills. I can't understand it. Something isn't right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sauger. So I'm pretty much wrapped up on the questions that I have for you. I don't know if any other commissioners have any more. I do have one, I'm sorry, just one more, and it comes to recording of documents in the Register of Deeds office, and it was section J, and the answer is J4. Basically, what do you attribute the answer to? What do you attribute the backlog of recording the records in the Register of Deeds office? And I'm gonna skip through a little bit of the answer, but it says a full data report is not available because it is not budgeted to produce the same flow of work depending on staffing levels, the effectivity of the workers' various literary day by day. I'm not sure exactly what that answer means on there. Most of the answers I understood, but if you would look under J4 and ask in the answer to what you attributed the Register of Deeds being so far behind to, because the Register of Deeds office, I mean, we've been getting calls, the Commissioner's office has, the Executive's office has, from people that own funeral homes, people that have driven in to get documents such as death certificates and marriage. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that's a different one. But we get calls all the time on all of the different filings going on. I would like to be able to give them a better answer as to the reason that there's a backlog, and especially the Register of Deeds?
Both departments are totally independent of each other. We're in a new building in one room. Where registered deeds came from, the employees would share their desk and share the equipment. In the new building, most of the employees do have a desk. With vital records, we don't have enough, I call them workstations. Cashiering is an issue in this new building or new room. The design doesn't serve the purpose of either department adequately.
So it's functionality?
Functionality is one of the
That's one of the
issues.
answers? Okay, I didn't read that in this
The other issue would
answer.
be, there was a few retirements in registered deeds that really were veterans, and to teach what they knew wasn't done during this period of time. And when I came into office, you just don't learn it in this time frame. It took many, many, many years to get to that level. They're not behind according to how the paperwork is done in the register of deeds. We are behind in the workload for vital records.
Okay.
There's a difference in the two departments.
So my last question is, and this just has to do with the temporary restraining order, that I just want to make sure that publicly, and I know you've had to say this before, but you intend to comply with the temporary restraining order entered by Judge Kelly earlier in this week?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have anyone else up on the list for any questions. So I'm going to close this hearing. I'd like to thank you for coming here and giving us the answers, at least
I
to
do
the
have a
best of your
closing
ability. Is it short?
Yes.
Okay. All right, please.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. The insights and the questions were very challenging for me to answer. I've learned more about how the intent of these questions were driven to get an answer. Sometimes the answer has to be truthful, and my 3 questions I'll leave with you, that if you think about, is it necessary, is it kind, and is truthful? So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 10, Finance Committee recommendations. Motion by Myjack, support by Commissioner Drollet. Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion to receive and file. I'm sorry, I skipped over that. Motion to receive and file.
Supplemented today.
What's that?
It's as supplemented today.
Right, so we're going to receive and file the report as supplemented by today's hearing. That's moved by Commissioner Carabelli, supported by Commissioner Toko.
I have a question
And
about
then
that.
you can have a question.
What is the process going forward with the information that we've received today? I mean, as a board?
Well, we're going to take some of these, we're waiting for some answers from her still.
Well, I
on
don't
some
know that we
things.
gave very clear direction on what we need. I mean, this lien issue is a big problem, and we need to have
Well,
answers on that.
We do have a court case going on about the lien the process right now. We have a mandamus going on with the court. Yeah, and go ahead, Scott, if you'd like to.
If I could, what I would suggest we do is go back and study the information that's been provided. Staff is going to go back and compile the additional questions and the request for additional information, and we will transmit that to the clerk and get more information prior to your next meeting. We will, to the extent we need to, study the tape and/or create transcripts of portions of the tape and of the meeting and work from there, and then work with Chair Smith to come back with some recommendations at your meeting in, I think, December 11th, isn't it? Does that make sense as a?
It does, but I want this lien issue, I want the urgency of this lien issue to be addressed.
Well,
I mean,
I think Chair Smith is correct there, that was addressed pretty particularly in the temporary restraining order that Ms. Spranger said she intends to comply with. So my guess is we will be seeing some progress on that in the coming days, and we'll be going back and forth with the court to find out about that. Just as after yesterday's meeting, we followed up with the court to find out whether her numbers were correct from the court's perspective. We will continue to monitor that. Does that make sense?
Any other questions? Commissioner Brown, I see you on here. Do you want to speak to this receive and file?
Yeah, I want to speak to the request for gathering information. I share Commissioner Tocco and the whole board's concerned about the lien issue. Can we ask the sheriff if there's been any incidents relating to the lien that caused any problems or concerns that he has? Because
Yes.
obviously it's obviously a liability. It's a danger that's out there presently, and maybe there's already been some situations that cause us a problem that we're not even aware of. Thank you.
Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Yeah, I just want to set the record straight on something because I have the document, and I said New Year's Eve. It was December 21st. And in this memo from Karen Spranger, she indicates the administrative secretary position is to be eliminated. The administrative coordinator is to be eliminated. All 4 supervisor of records positions are to be eliminated. All vacant positions will be eliminated. The clerical supervisor position will be eliminated. She then goes on to talk about how she will have 5 chief deputies. She considers at-will positions people she's going to bring in after she has eliminated those positions. Chief Deputy Register of Deeds, Chief Deputy Clerk, Chief Deputy Court Clerk, Chief Deputy Election Clerk, and the newly created position of Chief Deputy Quality Assurance and Regulatory Affairs Specialist. So this is the document that I'm talking about that right before Christmas, Clerk Spranger, you put out, indicating to employees right before Christmas that it was your intent to eliminate them and their positions without having any idea how long they've been here, what they do, what their experience was. So I just want to set the record straight. That's what I was talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kleinfeld. Nothing inspires harmony like that. Any other speakers? Commissioner Leonetti, we good? Okay. So we'll take a vote. We have a motion to receive and file. Motion passes. Now on to item 10, Finance Committee recommendations. We have a motion to adopt them or approve them. Moved by Commissioner Drollet, supported by Commissioner Duge. Any comments on these? Please vote. All right, motion passes. Item 12, proclamation. We need a motion to adopt proclamation commemorating the Italian-American Cultural Society on the occasion of their 60th anniversary. Moved by Commissioner Carabelli, supported by Commissioner Lucido. Anyone wishing to speak on this? If not, please vote. Motion passes. Item 13, new business. Any commissioners with any new business? Thanks. All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to public participation. Item number 14. Anybody from the public wishing to speak? You have 5 minutes. Please give us your name and address.
Good afternoon, members of the Macomb County Board of Commissioners. Joseph Hunt, Day 306 Stanley, homeowner and taxpayer, County Macomb, City of Warren. That was an interesting interrogation tribunal. The last time I was here, I was saying, are you going to create your form to be applicable to all other county officers? Because quite simply put, as Karen Spranger's campaign manager, I was with her last year as far as during the campaign, and of course during the transition that never happened with the retiring clerk. Because of the 2-week Board of County canvassers, I was in the court building probably every day, and of course in an attempt to transition, Carmela was very adamant in her saying no. And of course I know that in attempts to actually make meetings as part of the transition team that both Candace Miller and Lawrence Roca were able to do so because their predecessors were willing to do a transition. Carmela said, no, no, no. Every time she saw us, she gave us a look and looked the other way. Her former deputy basically did try to create a transition. However, Carmela overrode him. So basically, Rob Mejic, when you said that Karen Spranger's a liar because you read the newspaper article, you can't believe everything you read in the paper. Specifically, the issue does come down to is that the transition that never happened should have happened. And that was
Mr. Chair, I believe he's out of order. He is not a county employee. He doesn't, the information he's speaking about would require him to be a county employee, and I'd like our minutes to reflect that this is his opinion, and he's not.
Transition during audience, madam.
He's not a county employee, and he shouldn't be commenting on.
Transition before Karen was a open meeting, public participation.
It is. I'd just like our minutes to reflect that he is not a county employee, that even though he may have been a campaign manager, he didn't have information that would be associated with county employees.
I would have to say that as a transition manager and, okay, so do I get my time back? Thank you for your interruption. That's really nice of you. So what was I saying? Oh, back in the year 2016, the transition as a member of the public, when the transition was supposed to take place and it didn't take place, that was a direct result of Carmela Sabah being unhappy about her conspiracy with Fred Miller, and as a direct result of Karen winning and her hand-chosen successor not winning. And
Listen,
A point of
we're
order,
gonna
I
get back
agree.
to the,
That is a personal attack, Mr. Chair.
is it a personal attack?
yes, and quite honestly, you have no idea of what was going on in anybody's mind on what the direct reason behind something was. So if you can keep this to,
Was what I read in the paper, that there was a conspiracy.
well, you can read that in the paper, but
All right,
that's
I
what your
was just like I
opinion is.
say, I'm exercising my rights because I heard a lot of things here today of basically you're all of a sudden telling Karen that basically she's behind, and it was all going back to that transition period that never happened. It was the reporter, Jameson Cook, that I spoke to in December, who warped my words, okay? And when he warped my words, everyone was saying that Karen Spranger was the one that all of a sudden put this out in the newspaper, and that's a falsehood. So basically, I want to let you know that that's my opinion, and at the same time, get that form going for all other county officers, because there's a lot of questions that take place in human resources that you should ask Karen Bethanti, because if there's any problem that took place from the transition to now, the name is Karen Bethanti.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak?
Good evening, everyone. Frank Cusmano, Macomb Township. I believe that I personally agree with many members of this council and body that the job needs to be done. The question is, how has it been to be done? I've heard a whole lot of things. There seems to be a culture that exists in Macomb County whereby certain transgressions, let's call them, including violation of the statute MCL 123-1102, that has been established under case law to completely occupy the field in that it expressly prohibits local units of government from regulating firearms except as otherwise provided by federal or state law. Just so this board's aware, there was a union grievance against Karen Spranger for enforcing that law at the Talmer building. How can it be, when the law is so clear, that the HRLR persons upheld that grievance in violation of the law? The culture that I'm speaking of is that the unionized workforce believes that it is above that law. It has that amount of influence and control over county government. They call allowing persons their right to carry their firearms a hostile environment being created by Karen Spranger. And the union grievance is upheld by HRLR. Now, to answer Ms. Kleinfeld's question about how Karen Spranger was supposed to rely on Corporation Counsel. Corporation Counsel, who she was assigned to deal with disputes with UAW Local 412, are themselves members of local UAW 412. There is an inherent conflict of interest. This is the reason why she sought independent counsel. And as the board is well aware, the charter is fairly clear on this issue, that none of the countywide elected officials can expend any funds for legal expenses without approval of the board, or to go to Corporation Counsel. I'm not sure, yes, John Shepka's here. So the question is, are these issues for Corporation Counsel when he goes out to find independent counsel, should he do so in his own discretion after being directed to do so by the county executive? Are the questions of rates, total amounts, scope of employment of the legal law office, are those required? And the question really I have to ask is, why aren't these questions being asked? I'll also say that there's unionized employees here shaking their heads and nodding and, making other displays of disapproval as to certain facts. Some of them are involved in these backlogs. Are they here on company time? I'm not sure, but I notice that the questions aren't being asked. Is it more an issue of get Karen Spranger than get the job done? If we agree that it's to get the job done, then everyone should get together and get that job done. And I agree that the backlogs of e-filing and the liens are a problem, and that they could in some instances be dangerous, as Commissioner Brown indicated. But the question I have is why, from my personal experience, and I want to explain, because these questions are not being asked. What is the e-filing backlog? What is a backlog? Well, from my understanding, and I've researched it, it should be, and you have to establish the parameters in order to determine whether or not there's going to be any improvement, from the time the person who's the submitter, who's doing quite a bit of work, by the way, sorting and processing, clicks the submit button all the way through docketing and final payment being charged to that individual filer. But no one's asking those questions. And why was no goal ever set by the former clerk, Carmela? In other words, there's problems that have existed in between two clerks. And unless this body is willing to inspect introspectively...
Mr. Cosmano, you have 30 seconds.
Okay. Introspectively ask, why through two clerks has it been a persistent problem? Then perhaps the problem and the questions won't be answered and the problems won't be solved, and the dangers to the community and the backlogs will continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? You have 5 minutes. Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Joseph White. I'm a social worker. I'm a Macomb resident here. I've been over in Macomb for like 13 years. I've been a social worker for over 20, 25 years.
Okay, sir, can you give us your address, please?
30585 Sandhurst Drive, apartment 207, Roseville, Michigan, 48066.
Thanks.
On the vacancies here in Macomb, I've talked to clerks with expertise having like 13, 14 employees beneath them. I asked them did they want to come over here and assist Karen Spranger. They said they did not, because she has been demonized, and that they wouldn't have a job until tomorrow. So a lot of people don't want to come here to assist Karen Spranger because of the controversy she's having. Also, I had personal experience from the last 6 years with ASME and Miller & Cohen. And Miller & Cohen and ASME was instrumental in the organization I worked for losing millions of dollars. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from the public? Please give us your name and address. Thank you.
My name is Donna Conjemi. I live at 11235 Hemlock Drive in Sterling Heights, Michigan. I'm the president of AFSCME 411, and I was ready to leave, and I'm glad I didn't. I'd like to respond to some of the comments Mr. Cusmano said, just to clarify the issue. I normally don't come up here and air our dirty laundry about grievances, but he had stated that we filed a grievance regarding not being able to bring guns into the Vital Records and Registers of Deeds Department, and that grievance was upheld in violation of the law. I'd like to clarify that and give you what the truth is. The members were working late nights on Wednesdays from 5:30 to 7, and it's not in the best of neighborhood over there. There's a lot of crime, and the bank has been robbed twice next door. There was a scanner over there that the people coming in were waiting in line, long lines, sometimes an hour and a half to get waited on. They were angry coming up to the counters. A number of my women that work over there had people coming up threatening them because they'd been waiting in lines and telling them they had guns on them. They were scared. And then the decision was made to take away the scanners. And a lot of my ladies were very scared. So the next thing I know, the scanners are gone. We filed a grievance asking for our ladies and our gentlemen that were over there to be safe. We asked for cameras. We asked for buzzers. We asked for a lot of things to keep your employees safe. Yes, if we wanted scanners, they would decide that. Our grievance was for safety for your employees and for my members. That's what the grievance was about. And I still ask for safety for all of my members because that's a bad neighborhood and our members have been threatened by the public because people are waiting for so long because they have 13 vacancies over there. That's what the grievance was about, just to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Going third and last time. Seeing none, we'll close public participation. We are, for roll call, let me just remind you to get your calendars in order for next year. We're getting down to it, and we need to get next year's calendar ready. Please take a look at your calendars and give us any dates that are in conflict. Otherwise, roll call, I'm sorry. What's that? Yep, we're on a roll call. Please check yourself in. Soon to be out. I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Duge, supported by Drolet. Please vote. Motion approved. Meeting's adjourned.